Hello. I'm afraid I got a bit, kind of like carried away with this piece of work, this prompt, and I went really quite deep into it. So I figured I'd better do a video because it's easier than trying to type it all up. Okay, so the questions are: what is the devil's part in the higher evolution of humanity? The cards I pulled initially were the Two of Swords, and the Three of Wands. So we've got the Two of Swords and we've got the Three of Wands. Now, for me, that tells me that the devil is actually his or it's hers. The devil's part in the higher evolution of humanity is basically one of, I see that as pecking of the heads, constantly, the mind constantly working and overpowering people. For me, this leads them. This leads them into all kinds of situations where they are not happy, where they are not satisfied, where they are struggling. The other thing, the other two cards I picked from the Sweet Twilight deck show the devil's part as being with the Ace of Wands and the Five of Swords. And so for me, that indicates that the devil's part of human towards human evolution is that the temptation is always there, like the apple on the tree of Eden. The temptation is there constantly to follow your material desires. Okay, this following of material desires though always lead to the Five of Swords, which is about confusion, battling, competing, and it seems to go together that these two do seem to support each other, that the chase for material status and material things is generally out of proportion, so it does not bring the happiness that people expect it to. To me, this is a lesson for humanity to learn to understand the difference between what is necessary and what is not necessary, what proves the difference between what proves humanity is, or the person, the individual, in the case of this with the devil, the person is after, is not always what it seems. This whole world is based on the let's go get illusion or delusion, which brings the misery from the competition, the competing, the worn outness. The brain gets all overworked, and basically you can't see the wood for the trees. Okay, so I will leave this card for a moment. I think if it actually doesn't even show up. This is the archetype deck, and I might as well go with this one now, but we've got judge there. The archetype of the judge sitting in judgment. Now, the shadow attributes of this is offering only destructive criticism, misusing business, legal or criminal authority. And it's like this competitiveness is always out of balance. It's never balanced. There's always something that makes it competitive, and that leads to bad business practice. Now, the light attributes of that, if I can just zoom in on that and get it where I can actually see it, because I'm struggling. Where are you? Right, the light attributes of that are balancing justice and compassion, managing the fair distribution of power. That is the outcome that we're looking for. That's what we want to achieve. The shadow aspects, though, the shadow attributes, get in the way eventually, because a small, even when you go into something with an attitude of, well, I'm doing it for the good of everybody, it's going to be a great plan, it's going to help everybody, it's going to make me a lot of money, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that competition can lead to those shadow attributes, no matter who it is, no matter what business it is, no matter how pure the heart on the initial aim, the initial drive to achieve that. It can still, at times, because of the state of this world, go into those shadow attributes. And we have to watch for that. So basically, for me, the devil's job really is to bring about awareness for us that going into something just for the sake of making money or for the sake of achieving status is not the thing that is going to get us into that ascension process. It's not going to keep us in that ascension process. It's going to drag us down into the shadow aspects of this card, the offering only destructive criticism, the misuse of business, legal or criminal authority. Okay, so that is what is the devil's part in the higher evolution of humanity. Now, the other side of the question, which is the devil also on this evolutionary ascension journey? And the card chosen there originally, the first one, the Three of Wands. This tells me that, the devil is there looking out for something. The devil also wants to achieve. Okay, the devil has also got plans and hopes for things. Now, the next two cards that I chose are the Four of Cups and the Devil itself. These are from the Sweet Twilight deck. Now, these tell me that the devil there does not look happy in himself. He looks really miffed, really left out, really kind of like in a dark place. And the Four of Cups gives us the information that yes, the devil is in a dark place. Does he want to stay there? Why would anybody want to stay there? The devil's attributes express within all of us, and why would any being want to stay in that kind of misery and that kind of stuckness of not moving on, not evolving? Now, the card I picked for there, right, we can see that. The shadow attribute for this card is the inability to commit to a path once it's found. And the light attribute is a thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are. And for me, in particular, this tells me that the devil, whatever form the devil is in, whatever form the devil is in, is also looking for wisdom and truth, but is unable to commit to a path once found. Now, when you think of, say, characters like Judas Iscariot, and what he did, it seems very devilishly attached. But when you think of what he did, if he hadn't have done that, then Jesus could never have ascended, because he would never have been turned in. The whole process would never have happened. So the Dark Goddess card that I chose to go with this reading is desperation. And this kind of reflects the way we all feel. We're all desperate for something better. And to get something better, we have to learn what we don't want from this devil's involvement, this devil's enticement, and the temptation of the devil, and to watch that we don't fall into those difficult aspects, okay? We also feel with the desperation, or I also feel with the desperation, that the devil itself is also on an ascension path. The devil itself has been there forever, just like Judas Iscariot's job. If what wasn't done by Judas Iscariot, which was devilish to most people, a devilish act, an act of betrayal, an act of abandonment, an act of abuse, all labelled as our devilish traits. But if that act had not have happened, where would we be now? What energies would we still be living in? We have to have a balance. We have to have that balance. This balance has to come into play. We have to discover that, and we discover that as a human species more easily through suffering than we do through joy. Desperation is most often, the key that unlocks the door to the ascension process. And the devil, as sad and as dark as he may feel, the energies surrounding the devil, with all our judgments about what the devil is, whether the devil's a being or an energy, it's still how we project ourselves into that being and energy. The suffering is there, the misery is there, because of the job that's being done. The judgment is always there, okay? But without that job, we would not be getting to the light attributes of the seeker. Let me see, I've not got that now, have I? I've not got it in focus. Well, we would not be getting to these light attributes where we can satisfy our thirst for wisdom and truth. Find them wherever they are. More often than not, the place we have to look is in the darkness, which is where the feelings, the emotions, where the devil sits. Okay. Now, I hope that this has made some sense. It was too deep for me to write down in a comment. This is why I've done it as a video. There are two sides to everything in this world of polarity. So let's not shut out the dark just because some book from a cult that rose up after a good man died distorted everything, okay? That good man was there to teach us how to see our world and ourselves. He was murdered for that, yeah, but that darkness had to happen so that we could be free to start to see our own way to our evolution. Is the devil evolving too? Yes, of course. All energy changes, it never ever stays the same. And all beings connected with this planet and the whole of the universe and the whole of the cosmos are ascending at this time, which is why if we fail by holding on to old truths, or old beliefs rather, there used to be truths for people, but we're outgrowing all that now because we're seeing the bigger picture. And if we don't see that bigger picture and we collapse this new paradigm back into the old paradigm, then that has a knock-on effect right the way through all the energy fields, all the dimensions, all the planets. It's a massive picture, and none should be shut out of it. Okay, I will shut up there and leave you to it. And I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, much love. Bye bye.